you can absolutely bless your life when you are willing and prepared to remove certain people. And you got to be able to recognize who does not belong in your life or who is having a negative impact on your life. So these toxic people are all around us, all right? And most of us, if not all of us, have dealt with one or more of these individuals. But we have got to stop allowing ourselves to be exposed to that kind of energy, to be exposed to these type of people who are only going to drain us and put us in a worse position, all right? So let's start identifying who these individuals are. Number one is the person who always wants to take but never wants to give, all right? So there are people in your life who always want to call you when they need something, all right? Always leaning on you, always expecting you to take care of them, bail them out, whatever the case may be. But the minute you ask them, you see I had to clap my hands, right? The minute you ask them for something, they are nowhere to be found. They got an excuse. It's this, it's that. It's always anything but them actually helping you in return. Get them the hell out of your life. Now listen, let me stop, because the reality is this. With each person as I list, or that I'm going to list on here, I don't want you to jump straight to the conclusion of cut them off, be done, that's it. Because there are typically deeper issues that need to be addressed first that might show us if this is a misunderstanding or this is truly an individual with poor character who does not belong in our life. So let me give you an example in regards to someone who always takes but never is willing to give. Sometimes that scenario happens because you never ask and you always want to act like you can handle it. Some of you are quick to be the one to step into every situation and feel like you want to show people that they can count on you and that you can do this. And that's great. There's nothing wrong with giving, but you overextend yourself and you create this environment where they think that you're cool with this always giving, them always taking and you not having to give, all right? And so they become conditioned to asking you. I always say, like, a lot of times in these situations, and let me give a very specific example. Someone comes to you and say, oh my gosh, I'm having some trouble. I need $200, right? And you might be afraid, oh man, you know what? I don't want to tell them no because they may not have anyone else to go to. You know, and I don't want to make them feel like they can't count on me for it. So you give the $200 even if you're overextending yourself. And what I'll say to you is, it's not that that person couldn't have gotten it from somewhere else. It's that they knew you were the one that was going to be so quick to give it. Because how many times have you actually gone on to say no for whatever reason, only to see them days later, maybe later that day, find someone else to loan them the money? They have other options. You're just the most convenient option. But again, have you created that perception? Have you been the one that's been too quick out of a need to feel valued by these people? You've made it so easy for them to always take from you. So you've got to ask yourself, have I set the right stage here? And to add on to that, have I even asked them to do for me? So there are some situations where it feels like all this person does is take and never give because you don't give them the opportunity to step up. You never ask them because, again, you have this mentality of, I don't want to burden anyone. They'll burden the hell out of you, but you don't want to burden no one. You don't want to have to ask anyone. You don't want to have to inconvenience anyone, but they'll inconvenience you. And I'm not saying going around intentionally, maliciously inconveniencing people. What I'm saying is, if you want to see if someone is at least willing to be there for you as you are for them, you have to give them the opportunity to show you. And then once you give them that opportunity, if they're unwilling to, then yes, you can proceed with releasing them. Or again, address the issue first, talk about it, say this is how I feel, and let's give them the opportunity to fix it. If they are a genuine person, they're going to hear what you're saying, they're going to want to make things better. If they're a poor character, it's going to go left somehow, and they're going to expose themselves even more. But either way, the person, in most cases, the person who just wants to take and not give is an individual you need to remove. The second toxic person you need to remove from your life is the person who never congratulates you or simply is never happy when you're winning. All right? Pay close attention to those who smile when you're smiling. Pay close attention to those who are willing to celebrate your great moments, willing to acknowledge and even encourage you. Be aware, because there are times where people are in your life who are only bringing negative energy even in the good, happy moment, are only trying to look at the dark side of things even when something great has happened, or simply just is nowhere to be found when it's a celebratory moment of whatever you've accomplished in your life. And many of you have dealt with this. And again, we have to get to the bottom of what the hell is going on here. Is this an individual who truly needs to be removed? Or is this a situation where this person has a deeper issue that needs to be resolved? Now, listen, deeper issue or not, it does not mean tolerate their behavior. It does not mean accept this negativity. It simply means that once we attempt to address it, again, if they're willing to fix it and do better, okay, cool, then we can work with this individual. But if not, then they must go. Because all that person is going to do is start to bring you down. And you have to also start to understand that we can't fully trust if this person won't start to sabotage you. People who cannot celebrate you, congratulate you, a lot of times end up being people who will undermine you and derail you. All right? And they may make it seem like that's not their intent, but damn it, that's what their energy brings them to do. And so you do not want to allow yourself to continue to engage with that kind of an individual. Because again, it has very damaging effects on your overall life and can just can throw everything out of whack. So as always, recognize it, address it. If it's not corrected, tell them to go or let them go. All right, so now we are at number 3. The third toxic person you need to remove is the person who always criticizes you. All right. Now, I feel the need to share this story real quick. And let me just say, I love this person, so there's no ill will here, but it's just the story that comes to my spirit. So my father, all right, and he's passed, so, he's no longer with us. But growing up with my father, he criticized the hell out of me. All right? Now, listen, I seriously, I can laugh about this because I understand what was going on with him. And this is the reason why I'm using my father as an example. I remember when I would go to basketball tournaments and things like that, it wouldn't be nice shot. It wouldn't be you doing this good. It'd be like, man, your defense was bad there, or man, this wasn't this what this needs to be, or it was always a criticism. And as a child, I didn't understand it, and I may have struggled with it. But as I got older, and I did go to counseling to work through my issues, right, which is what helps me to understand the power of going to a coach or a therapist. But one of the things I had to realize in my situation was that my father grew up without his father. He lost his father when he was very young. So he didn't get that example set in his life. As well as the culture that we come from. I'm Haitian. My parents are Haitian. And I don't want to put this on all Haitians, but I'm just going to say what I've seen in the culture is that it's a culture filled with a lot of discipline and structure, not always very loving and compassionate. All right. And again, I'm not saying that applies to everybody in the culture, but it is what I've seen a lot myself. When you add that, and then you add the component of some people struggling to be vulnerable. And so you have to understand that some people being always criticizing rather than complimenting is a struggle to be vulnerable in that way, to be expressive in that way. Now, again, I'm not laying out these reasons to make it excusable, but I gave you the story of my father because what I can say for sure is this. I know my father loved me. I know he had good intentions. He may have not understood how to navigate through that. And so if you're dealing with a parent who's been overly critical, don't internalize, and not just a parent, anybody, don't automatically internalize it as something about you. And let's not always just jump to this is a bad person, all right? Because that's not always the case. And that's why I have to give that story so that you see it more clearly. That yes, some situations are just there are people that nothing's gonna get better with. They just need to be removed. Hell, yes, in some cases, even parents, you're gonna have to remove yourself from and detach from your life because they have no willingness to make changes and make things better, even after you have expressed to them and shown them how this is negatively impacting you. However, there are people that once they get to the root of their own issues, because that being overly critical is a symptom of a deeper issue within themselves, all right? If they're willing to address that and be more mindful of it, then again, this is where, and I'm sounding like a broken record, but I have to keep drilling that in your head. This is someone we can work with, all right? This is how we can make the situation better. But if they're not willing to, then of course we have to move on. But it's definitely something to be aware of and be mindful of, because you cannot be around people who only want to criticize you. Now, let me also throw this in before I move to the next point. Be open to constructive criticism. Like, I don't think we need to create an environment where no one's allowed to criticize us. That's not healthy. We have to be able to take criticism, and we should allow the people around us to know that they can, in a healthy, constructive manner, criticize us and tell us where we are falling short. That's how we become better as people. That's how we create a stronger environment for everyone involved. All right. It's just a matter of, damn, if you can criticize me, you can compliment me too. Okay. Like, you can tell me when something's good and when something's bad, and speak to me with love rather than with just taking negative energy out on me. And the same thing that you need to be mindful of, because some of y'all listening to this are that toxic person, all right? I'm saying this with love to you. You might be the one that's overly critical to other people. You may be the one that you ain't realized you haven't been congratulating your friends and family and some of the other things I'm going to mention on there. So if any of these traits apply to you, be willing to look at yourself in the mirror and hold yourself accountable and make the necessary improvements. All right, so let's keep this moving. And now we are at number 4. And the fourth one is people who always let you down. All right. Whenever saying people who always let you down, what comes straight to my mind or my spirit is the countless people who, as kids, experienced a parent who was absent, a parent who was never there for them. All right. And my heart goes out to you. And I pray that if that is you, you make sure you heal from that, and that you don't carry that disappointment and project it onto others. Because I've seen a lot of people who have been let down so much now build this wall up around them where they won't let anyone in. They won't let anyone show them that they can be counted on. They won't let anyone show them that they do genuinely love and care for them, because you don't trust anyone, or you don't want to allow yourself to be vulnerable in that way to be disappointed again. I think we have to understand that in life, even those who love us may have a moment where they let us down. Nobody's perfect. But there's a difference between someone who has a moment versus someone who is consistently doing it. And consistently doing it out of a disregard and lack of respect for us and our time. All right? And we have to recognize when that's the case. Because again, some people are in our lives, friends, family, lovers, who are just trying to use us, who are only there at their convenience and what's in their interest, and don't give a damn about our best interest. Once we see that that's that type of person, they gotta go. There's no way around that. Again, I'm not against addressing it, because I think everything needs to be addressed first to make sure there's no misunderstanding. But ultimately, that person will have to go. But do not misconstrue or do not confuse that with people who do care about you, who have a moment, maybe a bad judgment in one moment, maybe just something happened and they let you down. Maybe, they got caught up in their own feelings, something that they're going through, and they weren't able to be present for your moment or whatever was going on. We got to give people grace and understand that, again, no one's perfect. But one of the ways to understand the difference between those two individuals, the one who just doesn't give a damn and the one who has a moment, is how are those people with you in other aspects of life? How is the overall relationship with these individuals? The person who's just having a moment is still a good person to you. It's still showing themselves to be a good friend, parent, lover, whatever, in so many ways, but then they made this mistake. Whereas the other individual is toxic to you in so many different ways. It ain't just they let you down. They do a lot more than let you down. All right. And so recognize those things. But yes, that kind of individual, if it's not going to be corrected, or they're there with bad intentions, they need to be removed. So listen, speaking of people always letting you down, I'm gonna tell you what does not let me down. What I can always count on is HelloFresh. All right. So listen, HelloFresh is a company that I order meals from that has been amazing. So starting this August, HelloFresh is launching their Taste of the Summer series with everything from delicious grilled mains to farm fresh sides, and each dish is designed to maximize flavors of the season while minimizing oven use. With HelloFresh, produce gets to you faster than a grocery store, so it arrives at peak freshness and flavor. And HelloFresh's pre-portioned ingredients means there's less prep for you and less wasted food. Listen, I use it to cook for myself. It has been great. It has made things a lot more convenient and easy, and I know you will love it. So go to HelloFresh.com and use code StephanSpeaks14 to get 14 free meals plus free shipping. All right, so let's keep it going. And now we are at number 5. And number 5 is people who hold you back in life. All right. Now, when I first made this list, I was going to write people who aren't trying to grow in life. But I actually don't think we need to necessarily remove those people. And so what I mean by that is this. There's going to be individuals who, let's say you're an ambitious person. You want more. You're very into growth and evolving as a human being. But you have friends or family that are very complacent and they stay where they are. All right. Now, I do think that if their energy of complacency is affecting you and now is causing it's derailing you or holding you back, it doesn't mean letting them go, but you do have to manage how much you expose yourself to that. You do have to understand that some people can remain in our lives, but in certain boxes, all right? And we have to realize what box can we keep this person in, because too much overexposure to how they do things is now throwing us off, all right? But that person who is complacent may not necessarily be a bad friend, family member, lover, whatever. They may not be doing anything maliciously or anything like that. They may still be a great person overall. It's just that one thing that you don't really vibe with, right? But then there are individuals who literally hold you back, actively hold you back. They discourage you from your own ambitions. They're highly critical and always have something negative to say about your dreams and your passions. They throw wrenches in your plans in so many ways. They get themselves into trouble that now can get you into trouble and expose you to things that you don't need to be exposed to. Those kind of people gotta go. Those kind of people, they ain't even in a box for that individual. It's just too risky to have that kind of individual in your life if they are going to stunt and paralyze your ability to progress in life and to grow and evolve. All right. So that's another individual where we cannot accept that kind of energy and what's going on there. All right. So the sixth person you need to remove, the sixth toxic person you need to remove from your life is the person who always plays the damn victim. All right. Now, again, let me just throw in the caveat. If that's you, you better check yourself and you better get it together. All right. Can't be having that. Everyone needs to embrace personal accountability. That's very, very important. But the reason why you want to be mindful or careful of allowing someone who always plays the victim to stay in your life is because that's very draining. All right. And it creates a lot of toxic moments. Whenever there's a conflict or an issue that arises with this individual, it becomes very frustrating. It becomes a back and forth. It can consume you at times because they're unwilling to hold themselves accountable. They're unwilling to make the necessary corrections. And And again, they play this victim role. Not to mention that victim mentality, it can really start to contaminate you in various ways. And we have to be mindful of all negative influences in our life. It ain't just people, it's the TV that we watch, it's the music that we listen to, it's the environments that we put ourselves in, because we may not think it's doing harm, but in more ways than one, it typically is. And in more ways than one, it is throwing us off our correct path. So though that person who always plays victim may seem harmless, it can be dangerous, and it just doesn't create the right positive environment. So now, again, this is another example. They all are, but I have to repeat, address it. Address it and encourage that individual to be hold themselves personally accountable, but also set that example by doing it yourself. Because if you're engaging in the same kind of victim mentality, then everyone's gonna play the victim and nothing's gonna get accomplished. But as long as you're willing to do your part, they have to be willing to do their part as well. All right. And now number 7, and after I give you this 7th one, I got a message for you. All right. But number 7 is people who constantly spread and engage in negativity. All right. Examples: people who want to constantly talk bad about people behind their back, people who constantly want to argue, people who just, again, engage in very toxic behaviors. It's not good to expose yourself to this type of individual. You want to create a positive environment as much as possible. And these people who take joy in misery are going to make you miserable. They're going to pull you down into their negativity. And you may think, nah, I'm good, I can handle it. For how long? How long will you be able to stay above the level that they want to operate at? You know what I'm saying? At some point, it's going to catch up to you and it's going to cause problems. So you got to be very, very mindful of that. So there's not really much to say, because it's just really point blank period. If they engage or spread too much negativity, we've got to address it, and if not, correct it, remove ourselves. Now, the message I need to give to you, or a couple things I need to say to you, is one, for those who are believers, listen, I think it's important to always pray before you take any action, especially when it comes to removing people. Because sometimes there is a purpose for certain individuals in our lives, even when they aren't the most positive individual. Now, please, do not come to that conclusion on your own. Like a post I had the other day, someone commented saying, well, these people might need God in their life, and I'm the one to bring it to them, and I'm not going to let them go because I have to help them. And that's noble. You know, I applaud any effort to want to help people in a godly way. However, who says that's your role in their life? Who says you're supposed to be there for them? Listen, some people, even from a spiritual perspective, need to fall on their face. And you interjecting may be stopping the process of them getting to a better place, because some people need to fall on their face before they start to look up and move in the right direction. All right? Everyone don't need to be saved by you. All right? So you have to understand, what role do I play here? And the best way to do that is to let God tell you in prayer, not for you to decide that for yourself. So one, consider that part of it, but also there may be a lesson you need to learn in dealing with this individual. Or I even give you one example from myself. I remember one time I was working with somebody. I don't want to say who, because I don't want to put that person on blast, but I was working with an individual, and for the first few months, I was frustrated with this person. I was not getting the work I needed. I was not happy with it. There was a lot to complain about here, right? And I was ready to fire them and let them go. But I am a huge believer in you pray before you react. So I said, nah, I'm going to pray about this. Now, let me also say this. From the outside looking in, there's no person who would have looked at this situation and said, keep them on board. Don't fire them. All right. It looked plain as day that it needed to be, they need to go. But I prayed. In prayer, I felt God tell me, do not fire them. Do not let them go. I'm like, Lord, what are you talking about? You tripping. Like, this is clearly not working. But in my spirit, it was like, no, don't let them go. I listened. The very next month, due to that person's efforts, I had my best month ever in business. Best month. That would have never happened if I would have reacted on my own inclination to let this person go. There was a greater purpose there. And then we end up having a working relationship for longer than that, all right? Now, eventually, we still eventually parted ways, but it didn't happen until God said it was time. Because there are things that needed to come about. And so we have to understand that though I don't want to encourage you to expose yourself on your own understanding to toxic environments, I do want you to understand that from a spiritual perspective, there may be a reason why you need to be in certain situations, but rely on God to figure that out. And then also remember, I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. If any of these things apply to you, be honest with yourself. Be willing to look at yourself in the mirror and be willing to get better. And now, if you are not sure, maybe you're like, well, I don't think I'm like that. If you say I don't think, then we need to dive deeper, okay? If you can't say 100% confidently you're not like that, and you know what, even if you think you can say that, I would encourage every one of you to talk to the ones that you love, whether it be your friends, your partner, your family, and say, hey, how can I be better? What are some things you see in me that you think needs to improve? Is there any way that I've been a toxic person in your life? Don't be afraid to have that conversation, because sometimes people are afraid to tell us what's really going on. People are afraid to tell us the same way you might be afraid to tell your mother or your father or your friends or your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whoever that they can be a bit toxic or that they are affecting you in a very negative way. So that individual may be biting their tongue, but you want to create an environment where everyone can openly express their concerns, openly, again, constructively criticize, so that we can all grow, get better, and create healthier, more positive environments and healthier, positive relationships. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Avoid people who get mad at you for wanting the same things they ask for. I just read that quote online. I paraphrased it a little bit, but we're talking about narcissists, all right? Now listen,